I'm giving you today an overview about creativity working with AI. And I talked to Helena before. This is part of a lecture series. In the past, you had different perspectives from different categories of art. I'm trying to give you now an overview that can be adapted to any art form working with AI, and I'm very much looking forward to your questions. So you should be seeing my shared screen. I'm giving a little recap of where I'm coming from. Most of it has been said by Helena already. In the 90s, I studied fine art and philosophy with a teaching degree in Germany, Cologne and Mainz, and I had a semester abroad at the academy in Prague and in Hyderabad, India. And my focus was always photography, staged photography from when I was 18. And later in the 90s, that expanded into video and media art. And for 2 years, I'm now something that the Munich paper, Süddeutsche Zeitung, called poster boy of AI debate. I'm not feeling like a boy anymore. I'm in my 50s now. But it refers to this image and what has happened 2 years ago. It all was based on just a whimsical idea I had in 22. I was one of the first in the German photo scene working with AI. And I realized in autumn 22 that open calls for photo competitions were starting again. And I just wanted to see if they were ready that AI images are going to apply. And they were not. I applied at 3 different competitions. 3 times this image was shortlisted. And 1 time it was selected as a winner, and that was the Sony Photography Award. I made it transparent when they selected me, and I offered them either to disqualify me, which they didn't, or to open up a transparent discussion about the elephant in the room, which they didn't. So the only option I had was to go to stage and to refuse the award. And that night, there was no response. But in the following days, through social media, it became bigger and bigger and ended up as worldwide news. And since then, I have been giving interviews, keynotes, panel discussions, podcasts, workshops, and AI has become my 24-hour job with different aspects. I'm staying updated with all the tools in image making, video making, and as far as the time allows, also sound. I'm trying them out in my own practice. I'm teaching workshops to transform that knowledge to others. And out of that, I see developments, trends, and topics we need to talk about. And that is what I'm going to present you today. So I would like to start with 3 questions. And maybe Helena can kind of count how many are raising their hands. First question is, do you think AI is as creative as you? I'm saying yes. And Helena, if you just count and let me know how many percent you would expect, how many percent of the audience answered that they think that AI is as creative as you. So it looks like 4 out of how many are we? 40 something. So I don't know, let's zoom it bigger. So is there an official outcome yet? Helena, how many are we? You can turn on the sound. Oh, you can't. Okay. So we have 4 people saying they think AI is as creative as you are, plus me, which is 5. Next question. Do you think AI is more creative as you? Again, I think AI is also more creative as I am. And so everybody in the audience that thinks the same, please raise your hand. And the first trend is that already more people think so. That's twice as many. Okay. Coming to question number 3. Yupsa. Are you more creative than AI? Again, I'm saying yes. And as this is a school of art, I expect that the audience now mainly is going to reply with yes, that you think you are more creative than AI, but it's just a little bit more than equally. Okay, so the majority thinks you are more creative than nearly as many think you are as creative, and not as much think that AI is more creative. So I said 3 times yes. It doesn't mean that I've been losing my mind. It has a reason, and at the end of the talk, I hope that you will understand why I responded like this. So if you talk about AI and creativity, the main question is, who is having the lead? Man, human, or machine? Because it is depending on the human working with the AI, what kind of outcome you get and who is having the lead in the creative process. So here we have a human that has no background in a certain creative discipline and no experience of working with the AI tools. That means many of the artistic decisions that you could do and that you could put in a prompt are now not decided by you. It's decided by the AI, and the AI is having the lead. Second option is you are having knowledge in a certain creative discipline, but not that much experience in working with the AI tools. Then you are having the lead, but the AI is a very strong assistant. And a third option would be, after working with AI for some time, you will realize they all have strengths and weaknesses, and you will start to put together your own tools and your own workflow, and then your lead is becoming stronger and stronger. And in the past, I was comparing this to being a director, but this role has already changed last summer, but I'm going to talk about this later. This is what most people are afraid of, or most artists, that the AI is going to take over and artists are not needed anymore. If you talk about art, my definition of art is that it's an expression of the human condition. That means if an AI will produce art, it should express how it is to be an artificial intelligence. And then we are talking about 2 different species. But I don't think we will get there because, number one, AI has no intentionality. It doesn't want anything. And we as humans, we do. We are born and we want to eat, to drink, to sleep, to be loved, to be put to bed, and to be put on the toilet. And the AI has no intentionality. That is very important. And the second thing is consciousness. We don't even know how our consciousness works, what it is. At the same time, we think we can translate this into mathematics, and we create it. And it is not the same. It is mimicking certain things that we can do. And it's important to talk about these things. What is it? What can AI copy? And what can it do in a much more efficient and faster way? The relationship between professionals and amateurs before AI has been like this. There was a big gap. What AI is doing right now, it's putting amateurs on a level of a statistical average of quality. That means the lower level is going to disappear. And it's my prediction that in the future, art students to come, they will realize there's a void on that lower level of quality, and we might be going there now and just take it over. That would be something like a punk movement revival, but we will see. Let's talk about amateurs using AI. There have been certain studies focusing on stories, and what they found out is that amateurs can write better stories with AI, which is no surprise because with AI, you get the statistical average. And that means that if you as a professional want to differentiate and move up, you also have to use AI to make that gap a little bigger. And then the big question is, how are you using it? And what would be an optimization of that collaboration? I consider AI to be the tool I always waited for without knowing, because I'm working with my knowledge. It's a knowledge booster. I'm now in my early 50s. I worked for 30 years as an artist, working with different tools and media, and I can use this now. This is what I bring into the collaboration. And I show you an example from my system of text prompts to make it clear. These are certain categories that you can use when you prompt images with text. You define a subject, what is on the image, man, woman, dog, cat, but you need to solidify, to specify what kind of woman, what kind of dog, because if you don't do, you get the statistical average. It's very important to go into the detail of the expression, of the age, of the pose. You can describe an emotional quality of the person, the creatures in the image or the image itself. That is the vibe. The protagonist in an image, they are doing something, which is the action, and it's happening somewhere with, and that is the location. And the second part is now related to your personal experience and knowledge. In my case, it's photography. But it would be the same for someone who has a background in painting, in drawing, in 3D. And I think you can also make up a similar system of categories for music, but you would need different terminology that is related to music. In image making, it is the following. You define the medium. That could be photography, and there is or it could be video, for example, and there's a certain technology attached to that medium, a history. In photography, you can define a certain camera, a certain lens, a certain shutter speed, a certain film type. You can describe the perspective of the image. How are you looking onto a scene? Is there something happening in the foreground, middle ground, background? You can define the colors, the light. You can use references. Most people cut it down to style. That means you're just stealing an existing style of an artist. But reference can also be a decade, a certain school, a certain online platform. And you can think in genres. An image of a dog is going to look differently in documentary, fine art, advertising. Booster is a technical aspect. All image platforms have a certain aspect, a certain pixel size. And with text boosters like 4K, 8K, RAW, you can try to make the definition look as it as if the sound file would be bigger or smaller. So this is your way to be a director and to tell the AI in a prompt what to do. If you're not using those categories, the AI is going to decide for you. And my background was in staging video and photography. So the second part here is something that I have been doing all of my life. And also the first part, which is what is actually happening in the photo, in the video. You can use the same system and then look through the glasses of storytelling. Then the first 5 categories would be the story, and the second part, the telling. How is it made? And if you move over to AI video, it's basically the same. It is just certain film categories being put on top, being added. Like, what is the camera angle? What is the camera movement? How close is the camera to the person? So that way of defining what you would like to have in an image is always the same. And for those of you who work with audio or sono, working with sound, it's similar. Structurally, all generative AI, if it's text, sound, video, images, is working the same. And the workflow has 3 different steps. It's the prompting, telling the AI what to do. The AI is generating, and then you need to evaluate. I'm never happy with the first result. For me, it's just a starting point to redefine the prompt. I have to analyze what is good in the outcome, what needs to be improved. And from there, I'm refining my prompt and starting again, or I'm refining the workflow. What is happening already is that there is an attempt to outsource the prompting and the evaluation. Text prompts are not really appreciated. So many platforms offer you that the AI is going to help you. You tick a box saying enhance prompt, and then your basic prompt is changed into something that the AI is not even showing you. And I think in the future, the evaluation will be more AI dominated as it is today. And this is where we are right now, I would say. But it's a personal decision if you allow the AI to take over in all of those steps or you don't. And I don't, because the first and the last step is very important for me, where I, as a human being, as a person, is entering the dance, the dialogue. And if I outsource all of that, then I'm again back to the statistical average, which I want to surpass as an artist. You can use AI in different steps of the workflow. Some use it for inspiration. I remember a jewelry designer who was just making mock-ups and then later was analyzing the images he got and then thinking, can I produce this out of silver, out of gold? How do I make it? I know photographers that use AI as an inspiration for poses, for images, for backgrounds. You can use AI to analyze any kind of digital data. And AI is very strong in finding patterns and telling you what is in a picture, in a text, in a sound, in a video. Or you can use AI to produce a certain digital file or to change it later in post-production. I'm also using AI a lot for marketing when I need to write text about artworks or press releases and all of this. Then the structure is already given and the production is much faster. So to cut it short, for me, AI is a combination of intelligence. It's my intelligence and the AI, and it's then different parts of the workflow that I can source out if I want to. And the prompting was evolving over the last 2 years, and it was very clear even in 22 that this was going to happen because the AIization we are experiencing right now is a direct outcome of the digitalization in the 90s. Everything we digitalized is now training data, can become prompt material, and can be generated. So in a prompt, you can use all of these different file types, and you can also combine them. And that is going to be the future. It's the multi-modality of prompting. What you could do already today, and that was obvious 2.5 years ago, you can upload a video and get a sound. You can upload a sound and get a video. You can upload a video and get a text, and all of this is already possible and can be mixed. And I think that is the playground for future experimentation. So I like the structure of your lectures because here you are thinking ahead by inviting people from different backgrounds. You are already thinking multimodal. And the big bang of AI tools that started in 22 continues. My first overview slide for a workshop in December 22 looked like this. You could generate images with text or with existing images, and there's an overlapping part. And then at the end, because the file size was very small, 576 pixels, there was always an upscaling of making those images larger using AI. Today, 2.5 years later, you have AI image generators that are not generating images in 576 pixels, but already in 2000 or 4000 pixels in 2 years. And to show you how this developed, I show you all the slides I'm using today. And from one slide in my workshop, it's now 11 in 2 years. So the structure is the same. In image making, there are certain generators that come and go. It's like a horse race. Who's the best? Who's the fastest? Still, you work with text. You work with image. There's an overlapping part. But in image making, you realize that working with images becomes more and more important. And also the upscaling tools that in the past were just there to enlarge images are now creative tools themselves. And I have like 2 slides just for upscaling. And if you look at video, which is right now a battle between American and Chinese models, it's the same structure. You work with text to generate video. You can work with images to generate video, or you can work with video to generate video. And then there's a post-production part, there's an audio part, and then there is certain versions you can choose between and upscaling. So that is an explosion in 2 years. I could also add all the Suno and Udio tools, and it's not stopping. It is really like a big bang where it starts, it expands 360 degrees, and it accelerates. In the first 2 years, it was very easy for me to maintain an overview and to be an expert in all the best platforms. Since last summer, it's over. And there is no expert that is deeply in all the good tools. In video, I'm still trying to. In images, it's gone. In sound tools, I would say I'm an average user. And you are suffering constant stress and constant fear of missing out. Every 3 weeks, I'm teaching video workshops, and I need 1 or 2 days for updates. Every week there's new features, new possibilities, and it's crazy. But I also realize, that's an example from video, they all have strengths and weaknesses. And you only know them when you're looking a lot of YouTube videos or when you're working with them yourself. And I'm not sure if this is going to become a job profile in the future because AI can't do it yet. If you imagine you have a certain project and you want to achieve a certain outcome, it would be helpful to have an expert that can give you guidance that says, go this way. This is how you can create it in 2 hours. But you might not be knowing this tool. So you are using the tool you know, and you're stuck because that is the feature that your tool doesn't provide. Maintaining an overview is something that can be valid in the future. Now, going back to my background, what I learned about photography and promptography as a difference is its basic orientations. And I make it very simple here. Most photographers go out into the world. They are curious. They are on a certain location. Often they interact with what is in front of the camera. They experience something while shooting. And if you work with AI, you don't. And that's very important. I have become a couch potato. Yeah, I'm not going out photographing, and this is something that I miss. But on the other hand, there is a huge advantage. Many photographers go out into the world, and then they react. There is a danger of missing that inward travel, reflecting what you are doing because you are reacting, you are hunting out in the world. And in working with AI, the big potential is that it is an inner journey because you can define everything. But what do you want? And why do you want it? Nobody is telling you. And this is something that you need to reflect. And that for me is the big potential. That's still in German, sorry. So you could also make it simple saying most photography is about hunting and most promptography is about collecting. And there is a confrontation predominantly with an outside and an inside. But this is just the potential. The very strong photography does both. Yeah? And there's also a promptography that combines the two. My role as a creative did change twice in the last years. So first I realized, looking back to my art practice as a photographer, I was like the solo singer, the solo instrument, my individual perspective. And now that voice of a human changed. I'm not the solo singer anymore. I work with an AI, and the AI is a gigantic choir. I don't even know where the training data started and ends. And suddenly I have become a conductor or a director, and I need to interact with that training data in the AI and to create something out of it in working together. But like in conducting or directing, I need to have the idea and the vision and to make decisions. And the fascinating aspect about working with AI was that the AI is something that Carl Gustav Jung would have called the collective unconscious. And I can interact with it. And the unconscious mind was always something that fascinated me and was part of what I was interested in as an artist. Last year, summer, I realized it's changing. It's changing because the tools are changing. Most people didn't like to get deeper into text prompting. So platforms changed and people are lazy and people were looking for shortcuts and platforms provided it. So what started a year ago is now mainstream. you are not describing a certain composition, light, or place. You just upload a reference and you say, I would like to have it like this. And you can do it with video. You also can do it with sound. Yeah, you upload sound files as a reference. As I said before, structurally, it's all the same. So I'm not a conductor anymore. Suddenly, I'm a barkeeper. And it depends on the medium I'm working in. Um, and I work with images. So in the bottles in my bar is the history of images or moving images. In your case, it would be the history of music and sound. And what you do is just combining, mixing, blending certain styles, certain traditions for whatever you want to achieve and whatever audience you have in mind. And that's very important to realize that this has become mainstream with the professionals, and I think it will also become, more dominant with amateurs. And the way to work then with the training data as a barkeeper, as a mixologist, is there's still the training data, but I'm uploading files, images, video, sound to interact. It's a big copyright problem. All the platforms remind you that you should not use material if you are not having copyright. But to check that is not that easy, and there will be no sanctioning. I haven't heard of anyone that was kicked off a platform because you have used a file that somehow was copyrighted. I don't even know how those platforms are checking copyright, because I can record anything with my smartphone, video, image, sound, and then upload it. So what we don't know in this way of working, if we will get drunk or hungover or both, and could also be that the role of creatives working with AI is going to change again this year, next year. So returning to the terminology, what I like about AI is that it forces us to rethink terminology. We have been trying to model a copy of ourselves, and now it forces us to rethink how we are built, how our mind is functioning, and what intelligence, creativity, consciousness is. And those things are never defined in panel talks, in essays, which is a huge problem. This is why many of them stick at the surface. But if you try to define intelligence, then I'm using here the kind of statistical average on Wikipedia. Intelligence is described as an ability to use your experience and knowledge to solve a new problem. And creativity is described to create something that is new and valuable, which is the definition I would have never used. But if you are creating something that is new and valuable, aren't you solving a new problem with your experience? So what is the difference between creativity and intelligence? And you see here that the deeper you dig, the more questions are going to pop up. And it's also very hard to scale, creativity, new and valuable. On a global level, new, on a continental, local, is it a school? Is it a class? Is it one person? And what is valuable? And that is such a, it's I don't know. I can imagine so many examples, that seem to be absurd, but they are valuable. Sugar is valuable for dentists. It creates new clients. And the whole planet is built up on recycling. Everything has a value for something else. So still, we are not able to define creativity, but we are afraid that creativity is going to be taken away, that it's replaceable, and happening since 2 years, that there are many studies that tell us it's over. And what they check is always an alternative use test. You are using a water bottle, a toothbrush, and then come up with ideas. What else can you do with it? And large language models are very good. And they're up there with humans in the outcome. And they are very, very fast. But this is always structurally the same kind of creativity that it asks for. And we could come to the conclusion that this is all gone, that creativity is not a unique selling point of us as a species, and there's nothing left. But before you come to such a conclusion, it's very important to define creativity. And I had been interested in the topic for a decade. And I realized that creativity theory is a topic that started in the early days of psychology, but not that much happened since. Yeah, there was a little bit in the early days of psychology, then after World War II. But even a now classic book like Design Thinking wasn't adding anything to it. The main theories of creativity you can find in creation myths of religions. And we haven't come any further since. The only theory I found so far that can help us to understand what is happening with AI is the one from Margaret and Bowden, 20 years old. And I've been asking at many presentations and panel talks, is there someone in the audience that can provide an alternative? Nobody came yet. I'm still looking for alternatives. I'm also using AI and search engines and Perplexity to keep updated if there are new theories, and they are not. So Margaret and Bowden had a background in psychology, philosophy, worked with AI from the 80s, and around 2000 came up with this structure. And she said there are 3 categories of creativity. First is combination. And this is what we are familiar with in cooking, in music, and in Instagram. Yeah, it's combining stuff we know. It is Batman dressed as Barbie. And the second category is exploration. And here it's not the content, it's the given structure. And that is a wider perspective. I have a perspective on this room, which is, just straightforward. I can't look behind me. I can't look under my chair. AI can do so. And combination is using given content. Exploration is using given structure, which equals the training data in AI. And then we have transformation, which is new ideas beyond familiar content and structure. And that is the big question. Is AI able to create something that is not related to the training data? An example for a transformative piece of art for Margaret and Bowden is the classic Marcel Duchamp ready-made fountain from 100 years ago, where he just bought a pissoir, called it Fountain, signed it, and showed it in an exhibition in New York and said, it's art now because I'm calling it. And that was a paradigm shift. So the question is, would AI be able to do so? And I said it before, the main theories you can find in religions in this world. So if we go to the Christian Jewish tradition and you look at the Old Testament, God is creating the world with words. He wants to have night and day, sea and land. and then it's created. So you can say, hey, he's the first prompt engineer. But it's wrong because there was no training data. God created all of this out of nothingness, or as the philosophers call it, ex nihilo. And there's also then another way of explaining how the world was created, and that is from matter, ex materia. And there's an example which would be the Norse mythology, where you have ice and fire and a giant, and then there is giant, half giant children, and then you have Zeus, and they kill a giant, and out of the giant, the world is created. You have similar stuff in Egyptian theology. So there is some godlike figure, it dies. Out of the old god, you have something new. And in physics, you have the same thing. The creation out of nothing is the Big Bang. The universe somehow starts and it expands. But in the past decades, there was a second theory. The universe is going to implode, which is the big crunch. And then someone said, yeah, it can start again, which is the big bounce. It expands, it implodes, it expands, it implodes. And right now, we might not be in the first Big Bang of all of this. Structurally, all of these things are the same. So we are not thinking new. And this is why I was asking those 3 questions before. And I said yes to all of them because they relate to different categories of creativity. And there is a chance that this is not the end of creativity, that AI is helping us to train our creative muscles, which some people call augmented creativity. Because right now, if you look at your own creative output or what's happening around you, the majority is combination. The transformative part is the smallest. But if we understand how it works, and if we can outsource combination exploration to AI, you can focus on transformation and maybe make this become bigger. That would be augmented creativity. Right now, we don't know how to do it, but we might get there. There are also studies that point in this direction. One is from chess. I played chess as a teenager in the 90s with the rise of chess computers. At some point, it was impossible to win, but we didn't stop playing chess. We used chess computers for training, and now the level that chess is played between humans is much higher than before the invention of chess computers. So my hope is that we can get there by understanding how transformation works better. And this is what the latest studies also say. There's one from October from the MIT, where they tried out different teams. Only humans, only AI, and human plus AI as a duo. And the outcome was humans and AI are better than humans alone, but the knowledgeable humans, the pros, they are much better, and AI alone is much better as well. And somehow in the creative process, it seems to be a team that is working better than in other disciplines, but why? I don't know. Their explanation that artistic ideas is a strength of humans and the execution of AI is something I would not subscribe to. But I totally agree that the process of how humans and AI work together needs to be understood, analyzed, designed. And this is just starting. And that can be optimized. And that is something that is very important in the future because it has so many consequences for businesses, for universities, for workflows. And the latest study on this came out of Germany, the Max Planck Society, and they said, okay, we see different creative strategies. One is persistent, and one is more flexible. That means if somebody is asking you, um, list all the tools you are using for cooking, you can just come whatever comes to your mind. Yeah, that would be flexible. But if you are persistent, you possibly start with A and go through the alphabet, or you start with a certain category. What tools do I have to heat up something? What tools do I have to cut something? And these different strategies can be used. And the interesting example would be that there seems to be a preference, yeah, with AI, and there seems to be a preference with certain humans. And if we have a better understanding of how we function, what kind of creative strategy we use, or maybe what kind of creative type we are, we can construct an AI that is going to be the ideal co-pilot for us. And that is just a business field in the future that nobody has started yet. So to come to an end, there are many tasks waiting for us. One is that creativity needs to be researched, still to be understood. Is that system that Margaret and Bowden is proposing working? Does it make sense? If so, how can we improve on transformation? If the main strategy to work with AI is being a barkeeper, mixing stuff, where do we get that stuff from? We need an archive. Yeah, how do we structure that archive? How do we structure workflows? That is something that also needs to be done in a team, because as I said before, even experts that do it 24/7, they have come to a point where they can only see a bit of it. And you get the most out of AI if you also team up as humans. And you can also team up with AIs that are tailored for your needs. Build teams. One thing as a perspective, also for education, I had a very interesting conversation with someone that is trying to create a smart city in a small town in Germany. And what they are doing in the administration is to introduce AI colleagues. That means if you're already working in the administration and you know in 5 years there will be many people missing, they retire. First, you define, how do I want my new colleague to be? And then you structure a character in this. And then you feed that AI character all the knowledge it needs to know. And when somebody is retiring or leaving the job, changing the job, there is a knowledge transfer to the AI. And then the AI can help a new employee to get everything sorted. So that team building that we need to do in the future is also amongst humans and also having AIs as being part of that team. And then to come up with the right structure for knowledge transfer. Ideally, as a university, not only in Munich, I see Alessandra is also teaching here. You could, in a school, you could do a knowledge transfer from all the professors to an AI. Yeah, that could be a coach that could make crossover lectures and research additional knowledge. This is in its infants. The main problem here is how to stay updated. And that is a problem for universities, for businesses, for freelancers, for creatives. Ideally, you have one full day per week just to play, to stay updated, because otherwise you will not be able to keep up. And then build a structured archive and try to find out what hard skills and soft skills the human team needs to work on this transformative part, to be able to Yeah, go ahead.